Black Podcast. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, joined by my co-host, Zim. Zim, say what's up.
Hello, world. How's everybody doing this evening?
So we have a little bit of news going on. I know Zim talked about the Joe Burrow Food Bank as well as some Madden ratings that have come out today. Also, if you guys have any questions in the comments, please feel free to throw in any topics that you want us to talk about. Obviously, with it kind of being the down season, there are some issues, especially with there not being a preseason and stuff like that. So we will keep coming to you guys weekly. However, it is kind of like the dry season a little bit as well. So there's certain things that come up that we'll definitely talk about. I know Zim also wants to talk about his favorite play from Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow's favorite play, and how it would actually work with the Bengals. So I guess starting things off, I guess let's go ahead and essentially talk about that. So there's a play that you posted on your Instagram. And if you're not following Zim, follow him on Instagram at Zim_Hude. Also follow him on Twitter at ZimHude. And then also follow me at New Stripe City. Hold on. Someone is saying that the audio is off.
Really? So for me, I think I'm watching you live. Everything seems very clean.
Everything seems fine to me.
Everything seems very clean too. I'm not sure. But I guess you were talking about that the Joe Burrow play. I'm not going to really highlight it that much here, I guess, because I want people to see like the illustration. And this is not a plug to like go to my Instagram, but there's a guy that breaks it down a lot. But Joe Burrow talks about it in his own way, where he's specifically saying why the play works. And this is directly from Joe Burrow. But it's a play called Giant. It's a post route where Jamar Chase is playing the X route, over route from Justin Jefferson at the F, and then a dig from Terrence. So those three, to me, that just signals AJ Green, John Ross, and Tyler Boyd. The only difference is, well, let me continue. And at the Z with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which would be Mixon in the flat to the field, and then Thaddeus Moss in the other flat to the left-hand side. We have 5 guys that are going to be playing in the NFL for a long time. I'm eyeing that free safety. If he takes the post, if he doesn't take the post, then I'm going over. And if the nickel runs with the over, that opens up the window for the dig. If the mic gets under the dig, then nobody's on the back in the flat to the field, or if the will linebacker he's talking about tracks that and gets in the window for the dig, then I got Thaddeus in the flat to the boundary. It just gives me a bunch of different options that they can't cover no matter what they do. And I think and that's in end quote. And that's one of the things that I think it could translate to the NFL, like plays like that, because you see very, very similar plays that the Chiefs run. I think the difference is they would probably have Ross in at that where he's got Justin Jefferson at. And Justin Jefferson, the way LSU used him was more of a possession, big guy, good grabbing the ball at his high point. But I think the Chiefs run that same exact play where Tyreek Hill is now stretching the field out crazy, and he's running a real deep cross. And I think plays like that, if you go look on my Instagram, you can go look at in my story where I illustrate that. But I just thought that was really, really cool. And I think fans got a chance to see how does it, like how our players could translate to what Joe Burrow really feels confident in.
Yeah, definitely. And for those watching here in the chat, this is the play that Zim is talking about right here. So as you can see, kind of lines it up right there. We've got T. Higgins over here to the outside. You've got Ross right here, kind of in the slot here. You also have Boyd a little bit off the line of scrimmage. You got Mixon that comes out here and runs to the flat. And then you've got AJ Green on this side. So this is how Zim would run it, and it's pretty dope.
And the one thing I will say is that in this illustration, Tyler Boyd, I got him penciled in at that spot. But if you look at it, that's where they would have Thaddeus Moss on the line of scrimmage. And I think it's very, very important that this guy pretty much goes off on his left-hand side, because if he goes over to the right, then it's essentially like you're giving another coverage guy over there to Mixon in the flat. But the only difference is this, that we have to run this from a 4 wide set, because this is on the line of scrimmage, but I just put Tyler Boyd in there because I didn't want to exit out or pull him out like from the current formation. But as I have it right, this would probably be like a legal formation if the wide receiver were to line up like that. But if this was a 4 wide set, then you pull Mixon off the line of scrimmage.
Right. Got you. Yeah, so that's pretty dope. Seeing how they could possibly do that is definitely pretty dope there. So the Madden ratings came out today, at least for the quarterback. So they haven't released every single player, to my knowledge. That's dropping soon, but it's no surprise that Joe Burrow is the number one quarterback. I mean, we pretty much figured that, right? But where it gets interesting is his rating is a 76. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. And the only reason I say that is when I was doing the actual Madden rosters and stuff like that, I kind of concentrated on that rating. And I know last season or this Madden that we currently have, they kind of came out with Kyler Murray pretty low in comparison to what they did with number one draft picks in the past. So a lot of the rookies this year were lower. And when I say this year, I mean for Madden 20. Now for Madden 21, it seems that Joe Burrow is going to be a 76, but Zim kind of pointed it out as well that there have been players in the past that have been rated higher. And to be honest with you, I was thinking about making Joe Burrow on the game that I have. I think I made him like a 80, if I'm not mistaken, because I went back and I thought about it and I'm like, Joe Burrow is probably the highest talked about, most hyped quarterback since Andrew Luck. So I went all the way back to like Andrew Luck to see what Andrew Luck had. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Andrew Luck was like an 83, 84 or something like that. Wow. And I went back. Yeah, exactly. And I went back to Baker Mayfield, like you pointed out. And Baker Mayfield was a 79. And to me, I was like, well, I think Joe Burrow had more hype than Baker Mayfield coming into this draft. Like most people didn't even expect Baker Mayfield to go number one overall. So I was like, there's no way that Joe Burrow can't be higher rated than Baker Mayfield, but apparently that's the case. So I'm not really complaining because I do like that there is at least a decent gap between him and the rest of the quarterbacks. So for those who don't know, Tua comes in at a 73, so he's 3 points higher than him. You've got Love, who's a 71. You've got Herbert, who's a 70, and that shocked some people because they expected Justin Herbert to be rated a little higher than Love. I'm not really surprised by that. And then also you've got Hurts that's a 68 as well. So Zim, what were your thoughts on the Madden ratings? Do you think that they got Joe Burrow's rating right with the 76?
Initially, I did think it, but then when people started messaging me and saying, well, Carson Palmer had a 79 coming out, and I'm thinking about Carson Palmer coming out of college. Yes, the attributes are there, the size, you can go to him with throwing power, different things like that. And it would be a lot larger of a gap as far as his attributes go in different categories. But accuracy, just the run that Joe Burrow ran on in college, I don't know what EA Sports was, I guess measuring it by. If you're telling me guys like Andrew Luck had an 83 and Carson Palmer had a 79, because they must be just looking at pure measurables and pure attributes, and they aren't looking at the actual player itself. Because to me, the pocket awareness, the accuracy, those different things like that should be like probably the highest in Madden rated history as far as a rookie quarterback. And with that said, if Carson Palmer had a 79, and I don't know if everybody here is familiar with Carson Palmer in college, he didn't really ball out ever on that level, but he really had some bad years up until his final year. Like his college numbers just aren't that good for him to come out and have a 79 in Madden. So for me, I would then put Joe Burrow at like a 79, 80 as well, because I do give the edge to Carson Palmer as far as just pure attributes as it relates to a video game, like the guy's 6'3", 6'4". I mean, Joe Burrow's the same though. That's the crazy thing about it. It's like, like what are you taking away from Joe Burrow? Throwing power? Like aside from that, what other attribute coming out of college is anyone better than Joe Burrow that would make them give him a 76?
I don't know because I feel like Joe Burrow is probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks that we've ever seen. And although he doesn't have the strongest arm, it's not like he's Matt Leinart or anything. It's not like he's got the weakest arm either.
But I
So,
guess from a video game standpoint, everything is somewhat perpetuated, like the way that they treat like certain attributes such as speed. Like if John Ross runs a 4.299, like it's a video game.
but they don't. It's crazy. Like, so initially they did have, like you said, Ross that first year with the 99. And then, like, I don't know if it was because John Ross didn't have a great rookie year, which I don't know what that has to do with speed. They moved John Ross from a 99 to like a 97 and made Tyreek Hill faster. And I was just
Right.
like, what are you going off of? If we got the 40-yard dash, like, what are they going off of? It just, to me, not saying that Tyreek Hill isn't worthy of that because we've never really had an official 40 time from him because
Right.
he wasn't invited to the combine, if I'm not mistaken, for off the field issues. But at the same time, how do you just say, like, because the rest of the NFL thinks that Tyreek Hill is fast, we're just going to make him faster than John Ross and we're going to deduct two? Like, it just didn't make sense to me.
That kind of makes my next point. Then I think what it is all right. So when you're going to go to your team select, if you were to make Joe Burrow 80 something, let's just give. I don't know what the overall team numbers are for the Bengals.
Right.
Does anybody know what the Bengals
think they've
rating?
dropped them yet. I don't think they've dropped them. Yeah.
All right. So this is the conundrum that I think that they probably ran into is that on paper, just like most Bengals think, you're looking at Tyler Boyd, you're looking at Mixon, you're looking at all these guys that should be rated 80 something, right? The last thing that anybody, like people, like real gamers will go straight, like people like people that are really playing this game are going to play with the Bengals. Like that's going to be a thing. But what EA Sports doesn't want is a 2-14 team to come out and have an overall rating of an 86 based off of all of these guys. Like you got DJ Reader, Dunlap, Gino. Like they got to scale it down some type of way. And if you notice, if you added, let's say you added an overall 99 player to the team, it would drastically improve the overall team by like 2 points or so, right? So I just think I think they ran into that where they're like, whoa, hold up. Like there's not that many holes on this team. And in the holes that we're going to have to give them are going to be on defense because on all in the offensive line. And that's the only way we could slide them down and make it make sense, because then the average football fan is going to be looking at the ratings and probably saying, how the hell do the Bengals got an overall 84 and they just were, 2-14? That's my theory. And then the same thing with Tyreek Hill, like you're saying, he's so much fast. They're having so much success. People want to go to Madden and see that the Chiefs are absolutely the best team to play with. That's just my theory. I could be wrong.
No, I mean, I get that when it comes to the actual overalls and stuff like that. But for me, like when it comes to just speed, now it might be that they feel like when you have that speed, even if you're a 60 overall, it might make you better. Because I remember when I played back in the day, a team that I actually liked playing with on Madden, and this was probably PlayStation 2 Madden, if I'm not mistaken, was the Oakland Raiders. And I think it was actually when they had Jason Campbell at quarterback. But the reason that I liked using them was because they had some of the fastest receivers on the game all on one team. So they had Darius Hayward-Bay. They had Jacoby Ford that was like a 97 speed. I would put him in the slot. They had Lewis Murphy. I think he was like a 95 speed. And like nobody could really stop them because they were so fast. And then you could just use your catch with them. So like it wasn't like –
I was gonna say I know some guys that take and put John Ross in running back. Like there's some real crazy strategies out there for like real gamers. Like I'm old now, I'm a little bit out of the game. I still got a love for like watching, like for being a part of the whole culture and everything like that. And I really get into it sometimes. And I play my nephews, but if there are some Madden people in here right now, I just would love to like see some strategies and different things that you do. Because I am like one of those guys that used to have some unorthodox things where I will put like a wide receiver at running back or whatever, like depending on who I'm playing. But I just think that's really dope that Joe Burrow is the number one rookie quarterback as he should be. After looking at it, after further review, I do think the rating was a little low.
Yeah, I agree
But
with you.
by
I
the
think
end of the
he's
year,
good.
right? Well, by the end of the year, Joe Burrow will be at 85, though. That's my prediction.
I'm really interested to see what they put T. Higgins at. Like, I feel like T. Higgins, since he was considered by some to really be like a first round talent, like how that affects him. Because generally, like we've seen in the past with guys like Joe Mixon, a lot of those guys have actually ended up faring pretty well in Madden when it comes to like that second round. I can't recall exactly what Joe Mixon's Madden rating was, but I think it was like in the 70s as a rookie, which is
But
kind of hard for someone coming from the second round.
it's the Bengals. It goes to that overall though. If you look at even when I tell my friends that aren't Bengals fans, right? What is it like? Everybody that's in this chat right now, right? When you're arguing with somebody right now, you say, "Bro, like we could possibly go to playoffs," like, and they're probably looking at you crazy, like, "Dude, y'all were just 2-14, right?" They don't watch
Right.
any of the games, none of that stuff. But if you start talking fantasy football with somebody and you start talking about the players like outside of like maybe Auden Tate is a little bit more of a cultural thing. I feel like in our inner circle where the average fan doesn't really know about Tate like that much. But outside of that, most people say, yeah, you know what? Y'all do have Tyler Boyd. You know what? You do have Joe Mixon. You know what? You do have AJ Green. Like all of these different things. I feel like if they gave us the rating that these guys should have, it just would confuse the world because everybody's running with this narrative that we're trash. They went 2-14. It just wouldn't. I think that plays a big part in it. If all of these guys had 80s and stuff like that, like T. Higgins, had he gone to like my theory is if T. Higgins would have went to, let's say, the Chiefs or the Patriots, without a doubt he would have came out of the gate 79, 80 or something. Because he's on the Bengals, I think they probably give him a 74 at the highest or something crazy like that.
Actually, I was quite wrong, and I remember Joe Mixon being somewhat high, but Joe Mixon was a 79. So when Joe Mixon came into Madden, and Madden 18, he was a 79. So he was rated higher than Joe Burrow, the guy who was picked number one overall. I mean, granted, it's a different position, but he was rated 79.
Right.
But I feel what you're saying. From me, I'm definitely somewhat retired myself. The only reason that I keep Madden at all is to really just do those simulations to see the updates and stuff like that. Because like when you get to these slow seasons, you just really don't have football. And I don't like when, and I mean it might just be me, but I'm not that guy that likes to take like highlights and put them together of last season, and then you have like Joe Burrow at LSU highlights. Like I'm not trying to see that. Like no offense to anybody that does that or throws a Akeem Davis Gaither in that, but that just doesn't look like them in the Bengals jersey to me. It's nothing about their talent. It just doesn't really look real. And so for
Right.
me, the closest thing that I can get to that, unfortunately, is Madden. So like I throw them on there, but I think from paying attention to it, their rating system, the way that they rate the Bengals, they still give the skill players decent ratings. But
Okay.
where they kill us at is like the offensive line. Like our
Right.
entire line is garbage. Like
Right.
even Trae Hopkins, like they'll make Trae Hopkins like a 68. And I'm like, Trae
Right.
Hopkins is our best lineman. Like, what
But
are you
think
doing?
about it though. He's not a household name. He's not going to get voted by the players on any route. He'll never make a Pro Bowl. Like I don't want to say the Bengals curse, but it's
Right.
part of being the Bengals. Let's do a speed round. Rating. Give it to me right now. Tyler Boyd, what is his rating for you?
Tyler Boyd for me is a 85.
I'm gonna go 84. AJ Green, what is his rating for you?
AJ Green, I think you have to keep at a 90 just to see what he has to do. I don't think
Ooh.
if you go down to like an 88 or 89, it's like I don't know, but I would say at a 90 to start off because
We're,
you can always
we're,
update throughout the season.
we're at a 90. I'm on the same thing as you. Joe Mixon, what you got?
Joe Mixon is where it gets interesting. I feel like Joe should be like a 90, but I would say a 88.
See, for me, I want to go 91 with Joe Mixon.
Well, let's say what we would give them because we know Madden's gonna make it.
All right, yeah, let's do
So
it.
yeah,
So
let's do it.
Joe Mixon, what's your rating for Joe Mixon?
Joe Mixon for me is a 90.
Okay, he's 91 for me. Joe Burrow, what's your rating?
Joe Burrow for me is an 81.
Okay, Auden Tate.
Auden Tate for me is a 72.
72. Okay, I got 74 on him. Okay, give me your rating. You talked about Trae Hopkins. What's your rating, Trae Hopkins?
My rating for Trey Hopkins is actually like a 77.
77?
Yeah, I give Trey Hopkins a 77 because when I was making my ratings, the way that I based it off of was I went to PFF and essentially like I looked at their pass blocking and run blocking, and I looked at the guys who were next to Trey Hopkins, and then I looked at what their Madden rating was, and then I just assigned it accordingly to like that when it came to like their pass blocking skills and stuff like that. And I can confidently say, like, to me, I think he is worth the 77 because I don't know how else to do that because I can't really gauge it, but I know that he like wasn't one of the worst centers in the league.
Ace, this is the speed round. Hold on, we gotta go through these. All right, and I'm inviting everybody in the chat. Y'all can chime in. You're gonna have to type really fast with us. All right, Trae Waynes, what's your
Trae Waynes? I'm gonna go with a 75.
Oh, you know who I just missed just now? And Trae Waynes for me is a 74. I just missed T. Higgins. What's your rating for T. Higgins?
T. Higgins for me is a 74.
Jonah Williams.
Jonah Williams is a tough one. I'm going to go with a 75.
I'm going to go 80 Jonah Williams.
Ooh, 80
I'm gonna go,
Jonah. Okay.
I'm going to go. I just, yeah, maybe that's a little high, right? Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Next one. Carlos Dunlap.
Carlos Dunlap for me. Carlos should be a 88.
The 88. Okay. I got 86 for him. Geno Atkins, what's your rating for him?
Geno Atkins for me, I think Geno goes back a little bit, and I think he goes to an 89.
Right. Okay. And who else do I have? Let's do some rookies. Akeem Davis-Gaither.
Akeem Davis-Gaither, with him being a rookie, I think that they're gonna start him off slow. But he is versatile. So I'm gonna say he's gonna start off Madden as a 68.
68? Whoa.
Yeah, I think what hold on. This is what I think he is though, right? Because we're not doing Madden. So I'm gonna say
I think his age.
I'm gonna say a 72. I'm gonna say a 72.
And for me, he's 72 all day. Diddy in here says Geno's 90. Somebody else says Geno 90. Dunlap 87. Everybody's pretty much in line. Anybody else that I missed? Let's say Logan
William Jackson III. That's always a tough one.
90.
You think Will is a 90?
Yeah, before last season, you would have said 90 for sure.
Yeah, you definitely would have said.
You could probably say 88 right now, though.
But he had a down season a little bit last year. But I'm gonna say 88 for him. What do you say for this? Is going to be an interesting one. I always butcher his name, but let me get it right this time. Michael Jordan. What do you give him?
71.
71? You think so? That's not bad. Yeah.
What do you think? 69?
I can see that. 71. He was
that's a little high, right?
He was so up and down last year. Like, I would give it to him, but there were some games where he was just, I don't know. But I mean, I can't really argue at 71. That's cool. Bobby Hart.
Maybe that is a little fan of Bobby Hart, 68.
68. Okay. Xavier Su'a-Filo, because we haven't even seen him.
66.
It's crazy because Xavier Su'a-Filo
under Hart.
What's crazy is Xavier Su'a-Filo, and I know this because I updated the rosters. When I went at and looked at his PFF grades, he was like actually really high, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was on pass blocking. So
yeah. And PFF would agree with that as well. And I heard they've been working with EA Sports a little bit too. Somebody also told me that Chad Ochocinco has a role with EA this year where he's also going to be aiding them in some of the ratings for players and stuff because he works very, very closely with them with FIFA as well.
That's interesting. What are you giving John Ross though?
Whew, that's the toughest one out of every single one that you show that we've spoken about so far. John Ross, I go 77. Speed still got to be 99 though. No matter.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd probably say the same for John Ross. He definitely should be like a 77.
Somebody, Ohio 42 says Freddie Johnson needs a 92. So I'm sorry, a 99.
99.
So 99. So I guess he's really pulling for him to start at right tackle this year. It's been a lot of talk about Akeem. I said Akeem, but Adeniji starting at right tackle. It's going to be a good roster battle coming up this year. Well, I'm sorry, what was the one that you just asked me just now?
I was going to ask you about DJ Reader.
Oh, DJ Reader, 91.
Ooh, okay.
91.
So you got Reader being higher than Geno?
Yeah, because of the youth coming off a year like he just had. I mean, Geno and him, they might have the same rating to me. You know, like Dunlap will be like, that's what I'm saying. On paper, like I know, you need cohesion on the football team, but on paper, there aren't that many positions. Like, look at all these positions that we've gone through. We just went through like an 80-something, 90 at corner for just one corner. And then another one, we said, 74, 75 for Trae Waynes or whatever. So our corners are set. Jesse Bates, what would you give him? Like a 78?
I would give Jesse Bates, being that he had a down year, 78. I really want to say 80.
All right, but
that might just be optimistic.
But think about this though: a team that just came off a 2-14 record and gives an overall Madden rating of, like let's say 72 or whatever. I don't even know what they would give us as an overall.
Right.
It just doesn't even match up. Like, where are the holes at? You know what I'm saying? Like, we just said Dunlap is high 80s. Geno on the worst side is high 80s. DJ Reader on the worst side high 80s. You got
I think linebacker.
We didn't even talk about Hubbard. But I mean, okay, Josh Bynes, they got to give him a 72, 74. That's not the worst thing.
He's probably the highest rated linebacker though. Like if I'm looking at it,
and they probably SHIT on Pratt, and Pratt probably gets like a 69, 70 at most.
Right.
But I mean, like generally, like the bad teams on Madden or whatever is 60s all over the place. Like we're not even using fandom right here, and we're going with what we think that they would give them on the low side. I mean, it's still, you know what I'm saying? Like that's why that's why a lot of people have really bought into the fact that this Bengals team could really do well. I know we're talking about video games today, but I just don't see like some of these teams like the Browns have a really, really good roster, but is it marginally better? Is Pittsburgh Steelers like we know on offense? They like think about the ratings that we just said from our skill positions. They won't have any of that on offense. The only person that they could probably even give that to is like Juju.
Yeah, Juju.
Coming off a bad year. What could they get? They couldn't give Juju a higher rating than 84, bro. And we all know that watch football. We got Tyler Boyd as being our second or third best wide receiver, depending on how you look at the wide receiver position, probably being neck and neck with Juju.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, from an overall standpoint, I think it's a tough job for EA to come up with an overall rating for the Bengals being super low, which most people think they are. But if you look at every position, whether it's offense or defense, there just aren't 60s across the board. And there's very little 70s. The 70s and 60s on this team are linebacker and offensive line, which we already know. But every other position, there's a premier guy sitting right there. We even talk about people like Sam Hubbard and Carl Lawson that should probably be like maybe mid 70s,
right?
Which is not the worst thing in the world.
So one thing I want to talk about, we've talked about the Madden players. It came out though. We kind of talked about Trae Waynes. It came out that Trae Waynes hasn't signed his contract. He's becoming pretty frustrated with this. He's ready to get to work, but his agent has instructed him not to participate in anything. How do you feel about the Trae Waynes situation? How do you feel about the way that the Bengals are handling it? Do you think that they're in the wrong? Like, is this a situation that could potentially cause the two to part ways, or is this just, some steam burning over?
Steam burning over. There is no way. Listen to me, everybody. Listen to me, Linda. There is no possible way that Trae Waynes doesn't play for the Cincinnati Bengals this upcoming year. He would be I'm not going to use words like silly or idiotic or anything like that. It just wouldn't be in his best interest to leave that type of money on the table, because let me tell you something about this current free agency, and rosters are set out here. Nobody's giving him that type of money. Nowhere near that. Just because he doesn't feel good about working out in the way that it's currently set up. I got news for him. Like, there's a lot of players that are going through the same exact thing. but they just aren't speaking on it. At first, I thought it was just his agent, but shout out to Keo Spikes, who recently had Trae Waynes on the show as well. We need to do something with him ASAP too. But it's nobody's in the wrong. The Bengals are smart to say, listen, we want to go with our doctor. We're not going with independent doctors, and they have every right to say that. And a lot of players like Tom Brady and stuff like that were cleared. What's the kid? There was a guy that the Ravens signed. I mean, I swear that they went and cleared him, signed him, everything like that. The week after, was it like Pierce? Somebody, I remember they did that really
Jernigan?
fast.
Was it Timmy Jernigan or not?
It was one of them defensive, one of them big boys up front. And I remember they did that deal really quick, went to their doctor, everything like that. But the Bengals with this COVID-19 is just not ideal circumstances. I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine earlier today, and it's just saying there's so many uncomfortable situations. And Trae, I don't know how Trae Waynes thinks that that's going to work in his interest. I think one thing is when you get on shows with people like me and you, or get on shows with Takeo Spikes, there's a way that the interviewer can make someone feel comfortable, but he should not feel comfortable enough to start trying to air out like a little bit. I wouldn't even call it dirty laundry. It's just not in his best interest, in my opinion. It's not going to make the Bengals say, well, you know what? You know what, man? We thought about it. You're right. Like, go to your independent guy and we'll clear you and let's sign a deal. Like, there's no circumstances where they're going to do that. So what good does it do him to speak out on it like that? There are a million players that could be saying that right now. There are a bunch of players like right now with the Bengals that, yeah, the Bengals announced that they signed them, but they haven't gone through it and they haven't signed the actual contract either. But those guys aren't saying anything. And he should chill out, in my opinion, just because I think the players currently right now, they're already down to 2 preseason games. The players from a safety standpoint don't want to do the risk anything involved with preseason. Preseason is going to get canceled. That's happening coming up. Like, I've been told that by several players. Preseason is going to be canceled. So him trying to be prepared and get ready for preseason, stuff like that, he should just relax. It's not ideal circumstances. If he's not in the greatest shape ever, they'll put him on the bike for a couple of weeks. He'll be fine. That's the starting corner. That's my opinion. What's yours?
I think that, like you said, I mean, he would not be smart to go back on that contract because, I mean, a prime example is what happened to Darqueze Dennard. I mean, he took the Jacksonville deal and then he backed out on it, and now he's still a free agent. He's literally trying to, find whatever team will really take him now versus just taking that money that he had. And I believe it was due to some kind of language in his contract that he didn't agree with, and he decided to renege on that, and that kind of shot him in the foot in a sense because this is COVID going on right now. There's a market that's died down. The draft has already happened. That just wasn't really the right move. So I think, like you said, not a smart move for him to do now, especially considering that he got one of the highest contracts on the market. He just has to be patient. Like you said, these are things that the Bengals have to do. They have to do these things their way, and especially when they're spending that much money, given that they've done that in the past with guys like Antonio Bryant and been burned on that. They're definitely going to make sure that everything is going to check out before signing that dotted line. So I don't blame them for doing that, and he just needs to understand that it's nothing personal. It's just them just making sure that they do and take the right steps to make sure that they're getting that investment, because a lot of people kind of said, Vikings fans included, that they wouldn't have given him that much money. And I'm not trying to knock him. I hope that he's going to have a great career here. I'm one of the people that are kind of high on him. There are some people that felt like he was an overpay. But at the end of the day, this team invested and thought that much of you for that. And so I would not jeopardize that at all. But I think, like you said, I think things will calm down. He will get signed, and he will be our second corner.
Right. And one thing, just another Trae Waynes thing before we close out very shortly. I did research some stuff too, because some of the things that people were saying about Trae Waynes, there is a really, really good, if you guys are listening to this, go watch Mac Minute Chalk Talk, where he's recently got a guy on there. I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but he's got a guy on there that's with the he's part of the Minnesota podcast something. I'm screwing this all up, but Mac Minute's last show on Cincy Jungle, he has a guy that is really has been watching Trae Waynes for a while, and he talks about the potential of Trae Waynes, talks about some of the things, and it's eerily similar to Dre Kirkpatrick. The one thing that he did say, and a lot of Pro Focus stuff backs this up. And the same thing with Alexander McKenzie is that Trae Waynes arguably is one of the best tackling corners in the NFL. And I think once you talk about that, McKenzie, Sean Williams and stuff, you have a very sound secondary. And I think moving forward, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Trae Waynes deal, and I'm still not the biggest one of it. And I'll tell him that if I ever talk to him. But he has a chance to prove me wrong. And if he could do it from short up tackling, then that's one thing that I'm really, really, really buying into. And one of the things that this guy tells us about too a lot is about how he has trouble sometimes finding the ball when he's in place. Who does that sound a lot like? Right. So that's just something that you guys to check out on our other podcast, brother Mac Minich talk with the Cincy Jungle. The last thing that I wanted to talk about in closing, I guess, was Joe Burrow is recently partnered up with the Athens County Food Pantry. If you guys remember, around the time that he got his Heisman or whatever, he had that great speech. He raised over $500,000 like at that time. It could be more than that by now. But he recently released a statement that just said he was honored to partner and support the Athens County Food Pantry and Foundation for Appalachia, Ohio, in conjunction with the Joe Burrow Hunger Relief Fund. It's something he's very, very passionate about. It's going to be running through Kroger, Bose, the People's Bank, and they're just now kicking off this program. And like I said that number was 500,000. They had raised 502,000. So his statement on his Twitter, or I think it was his Instagram, was, "I just want to show as much appreciation to this area as I can." He posted this video on Twitter. Food insecurity is something I'm really passionate about. It's something I've really been thinking about and how I can make an impact on people's lives. So that's another great tidbit that we got from Joe Burrow. Something that I really, really, it's just another reason to just say, hey, Joe Burrow for president. Why doesn't he just run in 2024 at this point? Because I mean, can Joe Burrow do anything wrong, people? He's that good. He could throw 5 picks and I say, you know what? I forgive you, man. You're going to go get him next week.
Yes, sir. All right. With that being said, this has been the Orange is the New Black podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, share this with all of your friends. Be sure to follow me on YouTube at New Stripe City. Follow Zim on Instagram at Zim_Hude. Follow us both on Twitter at New Stripe City and at Zim Hude. Definitely be sure to check out CincyJungle.com for all your latest Bengals news and all of that. And that has been the show. Hude.
Hude. Ah. Y'all saw me flexing?